Hi, let's have a look at Oasis Network with the ROSE token, ticker symbol ROSE, currently at approximately 31 cents. The ROSE token has been appreciating quite a bit in this year. We are looking at market rank 81 with a market cap of approximately 1 billion. So that's interesting, right? We've got another layer 1 competitor within the top 100, an asset that has been somewhat overlooked by many. And so what we're going to do in this video is to not only look at the US dollar chart of ROSE, we will also look at the relative performance to Ethereum, so the ROSE token price divided by the Ethereum price, and we will do a comparison to other layer 1s that have been built on the Cosmos SDK, namely the Binance Smart Chain. So this is now ROSE divided by BNB relative performance. Then we've also got Terra Luna, so again the Oasis Network token divided by the Terra Luna price. And last but not least, ROSE divided by Rune, by Thorchain Rune. All of those layer 1s are built on the Cosmos SDK. Now, before we go into the price development, one thing to note is the current circulating supply of ROSE is 3.5 billion and the maximum circulating supply is 10 billion. So there's another 6.5 billion hitting the market at some point. And here we've got more information on this. So this is the vesting schedule of different stakeholders. Currently we are at 3.5 billion. And so there's something very important to note here. We will see a supply shock very soon for the ROSE token. So this additional supply might suppress the price short term, right? Be prepared. This is going up from 3.5 to 4.5 billion very soon. So basically existing investors, existing venture capitalists, they get the ability to sell their ROSE tokens. So that's indicated here by the red area, the backers. Now here's the relative performance to Ethereum. So the ROSE price divided by the Ethereum price. And we want to look at this because Ethereum is basically the leader in smart contracts, right? ROSE is somewhat competing. It's also a smart contract platform, but it's kind of like a niche. It's focusing on privacy and on data. Or in other words, ROSE tries to enable data sensitive smart contract processing. But still, it does make sense to make this comparison, right? Because also Ethereum is the least risky of the altcoins. It's the largest. It has the largest market cap. ROSE is way smaller. And so you want to see an outperformance over the long term. And so far, we haven't seen that outperformance yet. We are pretty much in a sideways trading range where we tend to be somewhat high on that sideways trading range, right? The upside potential is maybe 56%. Something like this. The downside potential is 67%. Not saying this has to materialize, but I think this relatively weak performance probably has something to do with this supply shock here in the past, right? Where we went from 1.7 billion all the way up to basically a doubling of the supply. It's pretty hard for any altcoin to digest, to still keep the price stable if supply shoots up by that much. Now here's ROSE versus Thorchain Rune. A pretty similar picture, a sideways trading range where we are comparatively high. ROSE versus BNB looks exactly the same. And versus Luna, since Terra Luna is performing very well recently, ROSE looks exceptionally cheap, right? If ROSE would ever catch up, we would see a 38x or something like this in the price, which would put ROSE at 38 billion and thus very close to the current price of Terra Luna, which is 35 billion. Now, one thing to note here is that this is just the relative price performance to Ethereum, right, over quite a long time. It's important to know that you can earn 20% APY by staking ROSE. So in other words, you can partially benefit from this increase in circulating supply. Currently, around half of the tokens are staked because the process isn't that straightforward. I haven't yet done it myself, but I will add a link in the video description that explains exactly the process. And so since you get more ROSE tokens simply by staking, if you're staying flat versus the price of Ethereum, you're actually outperforming Ethereum by 20% per annum. Now, this is obviously a very risky project, right? We are looking here at a market dominance of 0.05%. This is still a very early stage project, but it does look pretty solid, fundamentally speaking. But of course, we always have to look at the potential risks. And I think there are currently two major risks why I don't yet get involved into ROSE. The first risk has already been mentioned. That's the supply shock that's coming up very soon. The second risk is the general crypto market, or in other words, how the market leader of smart contract platforms might continue to bleed in price, at least in the short term. And that's because the price currently is below the 23 and the 39-day moving average. These are, when you backtest this, there are other videos on my channel exactly around that. When you backtest a trading strategy where you buy whenever the price is above the moving average and you sell whenever the price is below, when you do such a backtest, you find out that the 23 and the 39-day moving average, they are the best gauging general momentum for Ethereum. And since Ethereum has a high correlation with altcoins, so when Ethereum crashes, a lot of altcoins, they also crash. Since there is this high correlation, I think it's prudent to stay out of alts when the sentiment isn't clearly bullish for the rest of crypto. So of course, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody can perfectly predict where prices are going. And I do think the Oasis network is very promising. And especially when we look at the short term, it's very hard to predict these short-term fluctuations. But I like to have these major risks resolved first before making any major commitment in the ROSE token. That's my personal approach. But of course, if you've got a very long-term time horizon and you've got no problem in digesting, say, temporary drops of like 45% or so, if these kind of things don't really bother you because you're looking at the very long term, then this might already be an opportunity. I will also link to another video by Nick of Jupiter. He's presenting the fundamental story around the Oasis network in quite a bit of detail. So that might be helpful for your decision making as well. And of course, if you're wondering when I personally might get involved, feel free to subscribe here. A like would be appreciated as well. It will help the channel grow. And you might also be interested in our public Telegram group. You can find us at Bitcoin Strategy Channel. Simply search for this within the Telegram app. Last but not least, there's also a premium membership that can be found at thebitcoinstrategy.com. There are daily market updates on Bitcoin and Ethereum and various altcoins. There's a private Telegram group where you can ask me any questions. And we are also rolling something out called the TA Academy, so an online course on how to do technical analysis. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye-bye.